And we're in. There we are. Good. What's going on, guys? Nice deep breath. Let's make with a good read today on the Babylonian Talmud, as we are to do, and we'll see what kind of people end up wanting to pop in. I'm sure a lot of people said they'd check a thing out, and then probably didn't check a thing out. I want to check one thing, though. Where am I at? 7:32. Well, I heard rumors that some people signed up when I said, hey, I am reading live in real time the Babylonian Talmud. Who wants to join me in exposing the thing? Or whatever. And a bunch of people said, count me in. And now I'm up to 732 subs. So if you're one of those guys from Facebook, thank you. Especially because, I didn't post the link because I didn't have confirmation of permission to post the link. And I didn't feel like taking a risk when nobody was asking for the link, meaning that they went and checked out my page and found my YouTube channel from the last posting on my page, which is great. So, now I got some bullshit in my eye. Sorry. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to live in a time where I'm going to have to let a handful of people that I like say some shit that I really, really disagree with, because if you're far too swept up in just being sick of the continuity of the left's psychosis, especially since their behavior in the Kirk situation, then I don't blame you. But we still have to honor a right on a universal level. I guarantee you, if you couldn't character profile her, not behavioral profile her, but character profile, right? We had a character profile of Charlie Kirk, which I say was highly flawed. We also have a behavioral profile of Charlie Kirk, which was, exquisite. Now, the other lady, we had no clear behavioral profile before whoever she was that day. We had a character profile based on the superficialities of what happens to many lesbian women taking on masculine traits, regardless of whether they are happy people or unhappy people. And so if people keep saying that ICE are of local police, like if martial law, the ICE is not there because somebody needed the cops to be there. The police weren't there because there was no problem being asked of the police to handle. And that's the only reason why the police were not there, because the police are not there to help ICE. And ICE is not there to make arrests of anybody other than the immigrant they're looking for and anybody who's threatening and assaulting them. Which is why he had to jump the vehicle to become personally assaulted. And so, yeah, I get it. You've run out of patience. Tough luck. You're on a cycle. It's all going to come back. This is not going to settle. You're not going to all of a sudden see less of this just because of that. You're just being given all of this to be sick of it. So that way you can turn a blind eye to universal rights. And once they've figured out how to make you guilty of that, they'll flip the script on you. Because that's exactly what people are in the middle of living. Learning hard retributal justice. Is it karmic? People talk about abuse of the word karma. I don't know. It's become so common to say it that way. And of course, if you're just from one of the traditions that understands the original meaning of karma, it's very insulting. And yet I need the right word. So anyway, and it'll be fine. I'll just abandon your word. I'll find another word that isn't offended by my misappropriation. Anyway. All right. Here we are. We're going to crack open Chapter 6. So, what is Chapter 6? Chapter 6 is regulations concerning what garments serving as ornaments women may go out with on the Sabbath. So here are the grooming habits for the ladies. Notice that there have not been any particular grooming habits for the men. There have been some particularities, perhaps, about one or two things about a man and the things of his person. So the question is there going to be also something like that for the men? Because it may say nothing for the men, other than what they would wear when it isn't the Sabbath, which I suppose might be in the rest of the Talmud, if it works like that. I don't know. I see Hasidic Jews, they dress in the same handful of ways all the fucking time. Mishnah 1. In what ornamental apparel may a woman go out, and in what may she not go out? A woman is not allowed to go out, even in private ground, either with woolen or linen bands or with straps on her head to keep her hair in tresses, as a precaution lest she enter public ground and take off the bands to show to her friends, thereby becoming guilty of carrying movable property for a distance of 4 ells or more. Like, you're getting into that whole, the nuances of, are you 6 feet away from me for COVID or not? Right? And then you're fucking using a measuring stick. People are, God, they brought out everybody's fucking OCD with that shit. Okay. Nor is she to bathe herself with the bands on unless loosened, nor is she to go out with either totapoth or sarbitin on, unless they are fastened. Which would, does that imply that that's part of normal apparel every day, right? I'm reading this blind. I may not know all these terms. I am not running through professional prep, right? If anybody's knowing me for first time, I'm a man living my life just like you. Doesn't have time for the full academic just like you. I'm putting this out there as a joy and pleasure of my time and of my intelligence and of what I'm deeply convicted in adding to a larger conversation about all sorts of things, in which, I'll put it to you this way, I'm not going to become some sort of Jewish conspiracy channel, right? But it's going to come up a lot because of what's going on in the public consciousness and the danger of not having proper knowledge and wisdom and coming to know these things without the ability to navigate the truth of it, because if you're not understanding some of the more real primal principles that there's a it's not that I trust people, that I am more optimistic than I am. It took a whole lot of looking at how things going down are going and realizing that there's much more of an unseen force that does not have a certain kind of power, but used to enjoy a certain amount of attention that it did, right? Which was part of the air of paranoia, of the all-encompassing surveillance state, making you feel uneasy in your own skin about your own living behaviors and habits and things like that, right? In manners that we don't understand was actually going on way before COVID. Anyway. But if she go out with these things, she is not bound to bring a sin offering, as they are ornaments and not burdens. Hey, what's up, Tim? Gemara, bathing. Where is bathing referred to, and what has it to do with the Sabbath? Said Ar Nahman bi Atziak, in the name of Rabba bi Abuhu. The Mishnah means to say, what is the reason that a woman is not allowed to go out with either woolen or linen bands? Because the sages have decided that she is not to bathe herself with them on, even on weekdays, unless loosened. Therefore she shall not go out with them on the Sabbath at all, lest it happen that she become in duty bound to bathe herself, and while untying her hair, be forced to carry the bands in public ground for a distance of 4 ells or more. Ar Kahana questioned Rab, what about a hairnet? Answered Rab, you mean to say a woven one? Everything woven has not been restricted. This was also taught in the name of Arhuna Biar Yashua. According to others, the same said, I have seen that many sisters were not particular to take it off while bathing, and the difference between the two versions is when it was dirty. According to the first version, it does not matter, as everything woven was not restricted, and the second version, where particularity is the case, if they were dirty, they would certainly be particular to take them off. An objection was raised from Mishnah Mikveoth 9:8. Don't know that one. Well, I don't know any of them, but that's new in this read. When a person bathes, the following objects cause intervention, or shatzitza. Woolen and linen bands and head straps used by maidens. Arihuda says woolen and hair bands do not cause intervention because water soaks through them. Now, we see that although woolen and linen bands are woven, yet they are an intervention. Said Arhuna, all this concerns only maidens, and they are an intervention only because they are particular about it. What does that mean? Right? And it has something to do with how it soaks up water, because it has to do with how she has to continue. Like, Like, you complain about The Handmaid's Tale all over the place, and yet you have no idea that it's Handmaid's Tale type people that are running all this shit for you who is not in their situation. And that is coming from seeing you in the place of the inferior. Our Joseph, in the name of Yehuda, and said that Samuel said that the halakha prevails according to Ar Yehuda in the case of hair bands only. Said Abai, from an expression, the halakha prevails. We must infer that there is a controversy between Ar Yehuda and the Tana of the above Boretha. The Tana said nothing about hair braids. Shall we assume that because Ar Yehuda declared hair bands not to be objects of intervention, he must have heard the previous Tana mention them? Even if such be the case, it is not probable that Ar Yehuda heard that the Tana agrees with him on that point. And hence, he says, if he agrees with me on this point, why not in the other instances also? Said Ar Nachman in the name of Samuel. Read, the sages agree with Ar Yehuda with respect to hair bands. And just think about the fact that there's some apparatus enforcing that. Like, you gotta go take a bath. You're a lady going to take a bath on the Sabbath because for some reason, you even though you weren't supposed to be working, you woke up and stank or something. I don't know, right? And so you've got to take a bath in a precarious way because you have to be wearing the right hairband. And you have to travel with it a certain way because it's ornamentation and everything else, right? And like you have to I understanding how women are with a modality of their life, that's going to put a woman's life in a certain place because they're going to have to, their mind is constantly going to have to be ahead of the order of operations of things, to stop and think and be like, it's got to be this, and this in this particular order, right? It's all meticulous, so on and so forth, right? Men are not as, most men are not gonna be able to do that kind of thing, right? I mean, like there's guys that are like, maybe they're florists and things like that. They might be in that kick, because of their gentler nature and the personality kind of imprint, if you will, from working with the ladies around you or whatever, or could just be your inner gay instincts going off. Okay, so said Ar Naaman, Etziak, it seems to be so from the expression of our Mishnah, a woman may go out with hair bands, be they her own or her friends. Whose opinion does the Mishnah represent? Can we say, Yehuda, he permits even woolen bands? We must say it is in accordance with the above rabbis. Hence, they do not differ as regards hairbands. Not with totafoth. What are totafoth? Said Ar Yosef, a balm bandage for sanitary use. Humret, that's in Humret diketitha. Humret diketitha. I'm a little interested in what this means. I'm going to look this one up. Let's see. All right. Well, it's definitely a thing in the Talmud. It even, oh yeah, look at that. It even popped up the line I just read. Let's see what this says here. Questions concerning. Yes, that's right. All right. All right. Well, that's the reading of it, but I want. Right. Can I get? You know, I get if that's the thing itself, I should be able to get a picture of it, right? Do they not take a picture of it? No. I don't think it matters that much, but to be straight with you. But I'm just taking a second. I'm probably not even going to show it to you unless it looks really interesting. Yeah, this thing doesn't have pictures. That's interesting. All right. Well, we're going to move on from that. It's not that important. Said Abai to him, then let it be permitted as an amulet made by a reliable expert. During Abai's time, this difficulty was not solved. Yehuda, however, in the name of Abaya, it is an absayam, a gold ornament. This is supported in the following Boretha. A woman may go out with a gilded hairnet and a totafoth or sarabitin when fastened to the hairnet. What are totafoth and what sarabitin? Said Ar Abuhu. The former are bands that reach from ear to ear, and the latter bands that reach from temple to temple. Arhuna said, the poor make them of all kinds of colored material, and the rich make them of gold or silver. Nor with a hood, said Aryanai. I cannot understand what kind of a hood the Mishnah means. Is it a slave's hood that it prohibits and permits a woolen hood, or does it prohibit woolen hoods and so much more slaves' hoods? Said Abuhu, excuse me. It seems that a woolen hood is meant, and so we have learned plainly in the following Boretha. A woman may go out with a hood and head ornament in her yard. Simeon the Elazar says, with a hood, even in a public ground, it is a rule, said he, that anything below the shebaha, or the hairnet, is permitted to be worn, but anything above it is not. Samuel, however, said, the Mishnah alludes to the slave's hood. Did indeed Samuel say so? Did he not say the slave may go out with the mark that he wears around his neck, but not with the mark on his clothes? So, this presents no difficulty. The former applies to the mark made for him by his master, in which case there is no fear of the slave removing and carrying it, while the latter applies to the mark made by himself. See, this is important. This is about slave law, okay? This matters. What meaning do you attach to Samuel's statement? If he permits the wearing of the mark on the slave's neck because the master made it, and the slave will fear to remove it, could not the master also make the mark on the slave's clothes? Yeah, but the slave might lose the mark, and for fear of his master, he will fold up his coat and carry it on his shoulder in public ground. And according to Ar Itzhak B. Yosef, it is prohibited, This is also supported by a Boretha, which teaches us distinctly that the slave may go out with the mark on his neck, but not on his clothes. In like manner, Samuel once said to Arhanina Bishila, none of the rabbis that call on the exilarch should go out with their insignia on their clothes on the Sabbath, save you. He would not be angry with you were you to go to him without them. Hence, not being a necessary burden, you may wear them or not as you choose. Okay, so let's see. Which that means a slave permitted. What did it work like? Right? So it's okay. So did not say. All right. Let me try. I want to try something. I'm gonna look for. Okay. Talmud. Samuel. Slave mark. Let's see what we got here. See if I get anything. I want to see if I can get a picture of what the Jewish slave mark looks like. Right? Because they're using this to make some sort of point for stuff with women, mind you, right? And they're referring to the precedent of certain slave laws, right? So here's your so here's how your what do you call it? De facto slave law works. Let's see. Okay, I should try Google again. I used to get better results on DuckDuckGo back in the day when it used to be cool. An example of a slave mark. Come on. Nothing. All right. Whatever the slave mark is, we have no idea, okay? So they don't got nothing that gives me an idea of the slave mark. Let me just double check. New edition. Treatment of non-Israelite slaves. Let me try something real quick. There's a halakha.com. Want to know if there's any pictures that are easy to find. All right. No, I don't see nothing. All right. All right. Well, anyway. So be mindful of that, right? So it's either on the neck or on the clothing. Going on, Adam Weber, and I don't know the difference, but it's important. That's an important distinction. That's a thread. Do not draw conclusions from that. We must learn more about what that is. It is entirely possible that as we continue to read, we are going to hear things that may bring more clarity to some of this tighter stuff. The master said, actually, it's 9:04. This is a great place to take the first break. I am going to run through one band today because I'm feeling lazy. And so I just kind of grabbed this thing off Spotify. And so we're listening to Netherwalker. The first song was Tavern. This is Battle of Treedom. Okay. Good and gnarly stuff. Worst part about me is that, yeah, have to tolerate my musical choices, which makes people just not want to listen, right? And it can double suck because I might be the best guy for the job. But I want to do this in a way that's entertaining for me because I think I'm entertaining. The master said, "Not with a bell, etc. Why not? Lest it break off and one may carry it. Then why should the same not be feared in regard to a bell attached to his clothes? Here, a bell is treated of that was made by an expert and was not woven right with the cloth. This is also in accord with what Arhuna B.R. Yashua said. Everything that is woven, they hid, not restrict. Nor with a golden ornament. What was the golden ornament? Said Rabba Bibi Hana in the name of Ar Yohanan. A golden ornament with an engraving of the city of Jerusalem on it, such as Ar Akiba made for his wife. The rabbis taught a woman shall not go out wearing a golden ornament, but if she did so, this is just the Sabbath, mind you, so it might just be a Sabbath thing. She becomes liable to bring a sin offering. So is a decree of Armayar, but the sages say she must not go out wearing it. If she did, however, she is not culpable. But Al-Azhar said, a woman may go out wearing a golden ornament to commence with. Wherein do they differ? Armayar holds it to be a burden, and the rabbis hold it to be an ornament. Then why should she not wear it to commence with, lest she take it off to show it to her friends and thus happen to carry it? But our Elazar reasons differently. Who generally go out with such valuable golden ornaments? Prominent women, and prominent women will not remove them for the purpose of exhibiting them to friends. Rab prohibits the wearing of a crown-shaped ornament, and Samuel permits it. Both agree that the wearing of a crown-shaped ornament is permissible, as there is no fear that the woman will remove it. Where they do differ, however, is as to a golden and jeweled ornament. The former holds that there is fear of her removing it in order to exhibit it, and thus probably happen to carry it, while the latter contends that as only prominent women wear such costly ornaments, no fear need be entertained on that score. Said Ar Samuel Bibi Hana to Ar Yosef, you distinctly told us in the name of Rab that an ornament in the shape of a crown may be worn. Levi lectured in Neherdai that a crown-shaped ornament may be worn, whereupon 24 women in Neherdai went out with crown-shaped ornaments. Rabbi B. Abahu lectured the same in Mahutza, and 18 women went out of one alley wearing those ornaments. Ar Yehuda, in the name of Samuel, said, a belt may be worn. Someone said, a leather belt, even if jeweled. Said Ar Safra, why, even a golden belt jeweled, for it is not equal to a golden garment. Said Rabina to Ar Ashi, how is it with a belt worn over a sash? Answered Ar Ashi, by this you mean two belts? And this prohibited. Ar Ashi, however, said, a sash may be worn only when it is securely fastened, but not otherwise. not with a nose ring. What is a nose ring? It is a nose band. Nor with finger rings, etc. But if the ring have a seal, it is prohibited, as it is not an ornament. Is this not contradicted from Kelem 11:8? The following ornament of a woman are subject to defilement. I'm sorry. The following ornaments of women are subject to defilement: chains, nose rings, rings, finger rings, either with or without a seal, and nose bands. Said Otter Nachman, B. Atziak, you quote a contradiction in the laws of defilement as against the laws of Sabbath. As for defilement, the Torah requires a utensil, Numbers 31:20, and such it is. But as for Sabbath, it refers to a burden. Hence, a ring without a seal is an ornament. With a seal, it is a burden for women. Numbers 31:20. Okay, interesting. Let me. That's kind of interesting to me, because it seems like the discussion is getting a little extracurricular. 31:20, he said. Every garment and every article of leather and every handiwork of goat's hair and every article of wood shall you purify for yourselves from sin. But let's get some context here. Let me scroll back a pinch. Well, hold on a second. Whoa. Okay, let me read a little bit for you. Cause dude, this context is brutal. All right. So in verse 1 of this chapter, Yahweh spoke to Moses saying, "Avenge the sons of Israel with vengeance on the Midianites, and afterwards you shall be gathered to your people." So this is in context to what they do with Midians. And afterward you shall be gathered to your people. Okay, sure. So it goes on. Moses spoke to the people, saying, "Outfit men from among you as militia host, that they may come against Midian to deliver the vengeance of Yahweh on Midian. 1,000 per stock, 1,000 per stock. From all the stocks of Israel shall you send as militia host." So they withdrew from the 1,000 of Israel, 1,000 per stock. Okay, so they're getting ready to go to war and shit, right? You know, sons of Israel. This is verse 9. Sons of Israel captured the women of Midian and their little ones. They plundered all their beasts, all their cattle, and all their estate. All their walled cities with their dwellings and all their nomadic domiciles they burned with fire. Even their nomadic domiciles. That's kind of cruel if you're doing that to fucking nomads. They took all the loot and all the booty, including human and beast. So they took loot and booty of human and beast. Do they mean the valuables of the beast, or humans and beasts as valuables? Then they brought the captives and booty to Moses. All right, so let's read ahead then a little bit. Okay. Oh, what? Brought the captives booty of Moses, the congregation of sons of Israel. Okay. Lazar and all the princes of the congregation went forth to meet them outside. Moses was wrathful with the officers of the army chiefs, of the thousands and chiefs of the hundreds coming back from the militia hosts of the war. Moses said to them, "You have kept every female alive?" He's questioning, like, the females. They didn't kill any of the females, and this is perplexing to Moses that the women were spared. "Behold, This is now verse 16. They, by the word of Balaam, Balaam, came to be for the sons of Israel the reason for a defecting offense against Yahweh in the matter of Peor. So that stroke came to be in the congregation of Yahweh. And now kill every male among the little ones, and every woman having known a man at bed with a male, kill. Yet every little one among the women folk who have not known bed with a male, keep alive for yourself. And this is the preceding. That's verse 18. 2 verses later is the citation in the Talmud I just read. You want to see it? You want to fucking see it? I ought to show it to you. Glad you asked, Steve. Where is it? It's this one, right? No, it must be this one. Oh, I guess it's neither one right now. Hold on. Properties. Interscripture Analyzer. So where is it? It's supposed to be on top here. One second. Why are you not doing it? Are you off screen? Is that why? There we go. There we go. Whoa, okay, let me screw it down. There. All right. All right, you can see that in the sidebar there. Or if I should put this down below the PDF. That's where it belongs. There we go. So here it is, and you can see it with the Hebrew reference point right there. And you can see the whole thing right there. Okay? There, that's perfectly lined up. I think you can read the whole English bit on top in the proper spelling. There you go. All right. Right? You know? So, yet every little one among the women folk you have not known bed with a male, keep alive for yourselves. Little one. The word is little one. And I've heard about this word before. This is why I go on about, quote, hebephiles. There's a reason why we make a distinction about hebephiles, and it is not to change the moral compass of a matter. So, then it goes on to 19. As for you, encamp outside the camp 7 days. All of you have killed a soul, and all have touched any slain person shall purify yourselves from sin on the 3rd day. On the 7th day, both of your captives. All right, so then this is basically instructions for, if you had to do one of these killings as ordered, right? All right. And then that's the verse in question about the very mundane issue of hair, right? So this is about what you do with your slave woman's hair. Right? And there's probably not a distinction between a slave woman and your wife. So you want a Handmaid's Tale? There's a big tale for you. All right. So, nor with a pin. For what purpose can a pin be used? Ar Eda from Narsha explains it before Ar Yosef. Women part their hair with it. Of what use is it on Sabbath? Said Rabbah. On weekdays, they wear a golden plate on their heads. The pin is usually for parting the hair and holding down the plate, but on Sabbath, the pin is put against the forehead. Mishnah 2. One is not to go out with iron riveted sandals, nor with one iron riveted shoe, unless he has a sore on his foot, nor with phylacteries, nor yet with an amulet, unless made by a reliable expert, nor with a shield, helmet, or armor for the legs. But if he has gone out with either of these, he is not liable for a sin offering. All right. So, on your rest day, why are you all jazzed up for war? Right? This is all about the Sabbath stuff. Right? That was like the madness in the Jewish war. It's like Sabbath. The killing stopped for the Sabbath, and they went right back on after all the Sabbath laws were honored. Hey, Zolero, what are you asking about? What is hairy? What hairy tail? Hairy tail of what? I wasn't talking about a particular animal, was I? So you're asking why is the tail hairy? And otherwise, I don't know what your context is. We're talking about slave women and their age. Anyway. Be prohibited. Okay, so reset. It's going out. Right, so iron for the reason they began crowding their farthest. Wait. Prohibited. Well, I read it. Why am I crazy? Because panic ensues. Enemy. Reason of being hasn't gone out with either of these. He's not. Wait a minute. On his legs. Nor shield. Right. Okay, so Gemara, excuse me. Iron riveted sandals. What is the reason of it being prohibited? Said Samuel. It happened towards the close of the persecutions of the Jews, that a party of men hid themselves in a cave with the understanding that after once entering, no one was to go out. Suddenly they heard a voice on the outside of the cave, and thinking the enemies were upon them, they began crowding each other into the farthest recesses of the cave. During the panic that ensued, more men were trampled to death by the iron-riveted sandals worn by the party than the enemies would have killed. At that time it was enacted that a man must not go out on Sabbath with iron-riveted sandals. If this be the reason, let it also be prohibited on weekdays. Because it occurred on a Sabbath, then let it be allowed on a festival. Why then is it stated that on a festival it must not be sent? Betza 26, Mishnah. And furthermore, why is it forbidden on Sabbath? Because the people usually assemble on that day, and the same is the case with a festival. But do they not assemble on a congregational fast? Why then should it not be prohibited also then? When the above mentioned happened, it was a prohibited assembly. But all these assemblies are permitted. And even according to Arhanaina bi Akaiba, who said concerning defilement that this prohibition is only in the Jordan in a boat, as the case happened, it is because the Jordan is different in width and depth from other rivers, but Sabbath and festival are alike as regards labor. Said Ar Yahuda, in the name of Samuel, this prohibition of the sandals in question is only with regard to such as are riveted for the sake of durability, but not with regards to such as are riveted for the sake of decoration. How many rivets are considered to be for the latter purpose? Ar Yohanan said 5 in each. Ar Hanina said 7 in each. Said Ar Yohanan to Ar Seman bi Abba, I will explain to you the difference between my opinion and that of Ar Hanina. I mean 2 rivets on each side of the sandals and 1 in the center, while he means 3 on each side and 1 in the center. Gemara declared that Adonina, in accordance with Ar Nathan, who permits 7, and Ar Yohanan is in accordance with Ar Nohorai, who permits only 5. How did you just not, just settle it, right? Because it's just there to drive people crazy, right? Any of the real people doing the real stuff, they're gonna have the spell work properly because of a deeper relationship with the numerology, where it's being used in proper magical application, whether you're watching that ritual or not, and there's a component for your participation. Hanina Arhuna questions Ar Ashai. How is the law if there were 5, and he said, even 7 is permitted? And how is it there were 9? And he rejoined, even 8 is prohibited. A certain shoemaker asked of Ar Ami, how is it if the sandal is sewed from the inside? If the sandal is sewed from the inside. He answered, I have heard that it is permitted, but I can give you no reason, said Ar Ashi. Does master not know the reason? Being sewed from the inside, it is no longer a sandal, but a shoe, and the rabbi's precaution was against riveted sandals, but not in regards to shoes. Now, maybe they figured this out a whole long time ago, but they still need to, go over all of these arguments. How does anybody trying to live their life come to their own personal determination, right? I mean, because they don't, you don't get a personal determination, right? This whole thing is also about your deferment to the authority, which would be your rabbis, right? And I suppose there's certain rabbis that you know and have connection with, and then there's higher up rabbis that only the other rabbis know. And I think that there's probably kind of like that, and this is how they kind of keep their Babylonian thing alive. So Zerilath says, why is it that big of a deal to have sandals with iron rivets? I came in the middle of a sentence. My apologies. So this is just a made-up suspicion. This seems nonsensical. Right. They're not going to be toiling with rivets and footwear. This is all... Yeah, no, it is, but it's also how these people, it's understanding the belief systems behind it is what we're egging at this for, right? That was why I went down the road there with Samuel 31:20, and a simple thing talking about the law of how a woman wears her headdress and all that stuff is coming from slave law after a brutal fucking killing of all these other people, right? Does that imply that you have a right to brutally slaughter your wife if she's out of accord with that? Right? Because I think we're also talking about something that transcends the Sabbath in that respect, considering the whole thing. And they went down a whole thing talking about, oh, because people are gathering, and the way they're gathering, they might like trample each other, right? So dress more lightly. The idea was to dress lightly. You see, the reason why they're getting into the weeds about riveting is because if you have a riveted sandal, it's designed a certain way that your sandals were designed in the age that these texts were done, or these conversations that these texts are based on were done. And so it wasn't because there were rivets in the sandals. It was because rivets was an indicator of a sandal that could trample a person. And that's the argument, right? And that argument is also part and parcel of an explanation of why you do one thing and not another, to be in uniform for Sabbath, or at least in uniform with what's agreeable and deterministically agreeable by your rabbi. All right. There is a boretha. One must not go out with an iron riveted sandal, and shall not walk in them from one room to another, not even from one bed to another in the same room. But it may be handled to cover vessels with, or to support one of the bed's stands. With Ar Elazar, the Simeon prohibits even this, unless the majority of rivets fell out and but 4 or 5 remain. Rabbi limits the permission to 7 rivets if the soles are made of leather and the uppers and riveted. It is permitted. If the rivets are made like hooks, or are flat-headed or pointed, or pierce through the sandal to protect the sole, it is permitted. Ar masna, others say, or adaboy, be masna. Attaboy! Attaboy! I couldn't help it. That's the first attaboy, or ahad boy. I had a boy! Masna, in the name of Armasna, said, the halakha does not prevail in accordance with Elazar b. Simeon. Is this not self-evident? When one individual opinion conflicts with the majority, the opinion of the majority prevails, lest one suppose that because Ar Elazar b. Simeon gave a reason for his statement, should it be accepted, he comes to teach us that it is not so. Said Ar Haya, here I, not called a Babylonian, who permits what is prohibited. I would permit considerably more how many. In Pumbeditha they say 24, and in Surah they say 22. Said Ar Naaman Beetziak, it seems by your remark that on the road from Pumbeditha to Surah you lost 2. Nor with 1, etc. But if his foot is sore, he may go out. On which foot may he wear the shoe? On the foot that is sore, for protection? The rabbis taught, when one puts on his shoes, he should commence with the right shoe. When he takes them off, he should commence with the left. When one bathes, he should wash the right side first. When he anoints himself, he should anoint the right side first. And whoever anoints the whole body should commence with the head, for the head is the king of all the members of the body. It's actually the heart is the king of all members of the body. The head is the high council, is the counselor of the king. Now with phylacteries. Actually, it's almost 9:40. Let's, or not with, nor with phylacteries. We will get back to phylacteries after the next break. Let's see here. Right, they're not going to be toiling with rivets and footwear. Yeah. Exactly. Right? There's maybe a handful of some other unknown kind of reasoning, right? More so than just the trample effect. But let's see here. We're going to go now with, like I said, we're going to keep it on Netherwalker today. And it's kind of gone through 3 albums. The next 2 songs on here are from the same album. So this is Thine King Weeps for Mercy. Excuse me. That'll be no, that's actually the same song as the other song, except on the new album. They must have recut the Battle of Treadham. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm not gonna play the song for you twice. I may have to check it out twice. Oh, they also redid Tavern too. That explains why they're all in there. Gotcha. Okay, there we go. Learning a thing or two about these bands. Anywho. Nor with phylacteries. But if he went out with them on, he is not liable for a sin offering, said Arsafra. This is not only in accordance with him who holds Sabbath is a day for wearing phylacteries, but it is even in accordance with him who holds that it is not. What is the reason? Because phylacteries are put on the same manner as a garment, and not with an amulet, etc., said Arpapa. Do not presume that both the maker and the amulet must be reliable. It is sufficient if the maker only is reliable. So it seems to be from the statement in the Mishnah and not with an amulet that was not made by a reliable expert. It does not say with a reliable amulet. The rabbis taught which are to be considered such if they have cured 3 times, no matter whether they contained inscriptions of mystic forms or certain medicaments. If the amulet is for a sickness, be it serious or not, or if it is for one afflicted with epilepsy, or only serves as a preventative, one may fasten or unfasten it even in public ground, provided he does not fasten the amulet to a bracelet or a finger ring to go out with it in public ground, lest those who see it think that it is being worn as an ornament. Okay. So often that is a particular way of saying, don't wear this in a manner for your vanity, right? Like, I wear the ornamentation of the Mjolnir Musil, we'll call it, the Mjolnir Musil, or it's Mjolnir and the Ern Musil. That's kind of a natural name for it, isn't it? Or the Ern Mjolnir. That might be even a better name for it. We'll call it the Ern Mjolnir. That's what I'm wearing. This is the Ern Mjolnir. Or the Urim Mjolnir. Thank you. Working on my fucking old Norsiness. This is ornamentation, right? It is, I am using it as a magical talisman. You know, it's even talking about mystic forms of inscriptions. So let me reread this passage. The rabbis taught which are to be considered such if they have cured 3 times, no matter whether they contained inscriptions of mystic forms or certain medicaments. If the amulet is for a sickness, be it serious or not, or if it is for one afflicted with epilepsy, or one serves as a preemptive for, one may fasten or unfasten it even in public ground, provided he does not fasten the amulet to a bracelet or a finger ring to go out with it in public ground, lest those who see it think that it being worn as an ornament. Right, so, so you have to carry it on you in a utilitarian way and not in just a demonstrational way, like the way I just have it out on my chest like this, right? Did not a Boretha state that only such amulets as cured 3 different parties are reliable? Excuse me. This presents no difficulty. Here we are taught as to the reliability of the expert who made the amulet, while in the latter Boretha we are taught as to the reliability of the amulet itself. Said Arpepa, it is certain to me that where 3 different amulets were given to 3 different human sufferers at 3 different times, and a cure was effected, both the amulets and the experts who made them are reliable. Where 3 different amulets were given to 3 different... See, this is fucking cool. Like, here's some magic. Here's some magic in the good old Talmud. And this is pretty general, too. Just talking about a trifecta of amulets in general, right? Like, just like, here's... I can fucking relate to this thus far, right? So anyway... Were 3 different amulets were given to 3 different sufferers only once, the expert is reliable. but not the amulets, where one and the same amulet was given to 3 different sufferers. The amulet is reliable, but not the expert. But how is it with 3 different amulets given to one man for 3 different diseases? Certainly the amulets are not reliable, for each cured only once. But how is it with the expert? Should he be considered reliable or not? If we say that the expert cured him, perhaps it was only the fate of the sufferer that he should be cured by a script. The question remains. This question remains. Are they saying they don't have an answer on this and they're letting us know this important underscoring point? Because remember, listen, dude, we've all seen charlatans do healing. We've all seen New Agers do a lot of charlatan work. But I've also seen legitimate healing. I've had New Agers that have at least helped me out with mental condition. When I had to wait for the procedure for my appendix, the copper tensor tool that I had I picked up from a very powerful witch, applied to the area near the inflated appendix, at the very least gave me a noticeable, small but noticeable amount of pain relief. So the animism of the thing is going to tell me that it's more about the acceptance of the healing that the amulet excuse me. It's more about the acceptance of the healing of the amulet that is doing it. Right? But I can imagine if, say, you've got an illness and then you die, and there's an investigation that's opened up, right? The rabbis, they just do this shit themselves, right? If somebody dies in the fucking family, they'll do their own internal shit. They got their own fucking universe. And, as far as the outside world is concerned, you died in some fucking stupid accident or some shit. In the inside world, there's 2 fucking tribes that are at war with each other. One guy killed the other, and then the other one's trying to figure out who the other tribe paid off to do it, or whatever the fuck the scenario is. This is the kind of shit. So, if a guy gets sick and he dies, you want to find out what's up with the goddamn expert, right? Did you curse him? Right? One can make all sorts of assumptions that things are on the level, and then for some reason a thing doesn't work. And we have a hard time understanding why we do the magical ritual correct a dozen times and it works, but it doesn't always work for some strange reason. You do it more times, and as you go by, once in a while there's a misfire. And then you try it again, and you try it again, and then it works. Right? This is why you don't do magic on other people, right? Now, but you can craft them a talisman. You can do that for them, right? They're trusting you that you're gonna only make them a talisman that only does what they wanted, with either the full scope of what they want or the limited scope of what they want? Did they ask for, I want to have all this power, and but not too much power, right? Or I just want power in this one way, but I want it to be unlimited. I want to always be fucking going nuts, more nuts and nuts and nuts with my power, right? We see this trope in the way that they do superheroes, supervillains in anime, right? Because everything is about going to the next form and whatever, and it's showing you a different idea of the and cool ideas of consequences of choosing the light side versus the dark side of things, so on and so forth, right? So, you like science, you can't take the science as solid either, right? There's a million cases. There's a million things going on in your body. There's a million things going on. There's so many fucking variables. And they lied to you that there was a standard. The variables of the human condition is the only standard. Right? Your fucking behavior and the environment and the things that fill that environment work together as a formula, setting the boundaries for what your immune system puts up with on a regular basis. And you can either be right on fucking point with your immune system, or you can choose to put it under traumatic stress every fucking day. Then you wonder where illness is actually coming from. Or you're in denial that your own habits are what are making you that way. And people we had to go hard, right? We had to go hard on the left about that shit throughout the pandemic and beyond. And we had to go hard on them on many other fucking things, right? And the script is flipped, and now we're acting like sadists, and I hate it. Anyway. The schoolmen propounded a question. Is there any sanctity in an amulet or not? For what purpose are we to know this in order to enter a privy? If there is any sanctity in the amulet, this would not be allowed, otherwise it would. I fucking love this conversation. See, this is cool. This is fascinating. You know, I like how it had to go off to a whole magical amulet fucking side quest. We're still talking about women, garments, and bathing and shit. I think. Right? Because this is kind of like what the chapter is. Come and hear, we have learned in a Mishnah, not with an amulet unless made by a reliable expert. From this we see that if we made by a reliable expert, one may go out with it now. If we say that there is sanctity in the amulet, how can we say that one may go out with it? Perhaps we shall be compelled to enter a privy. He will have to take it off, and thus be forced to carry it 4 ells or more in public grounds. So then there's the 4 L's rules applying to the technicalities of the bureaucrats. Mishnah 3. A woman shall not go out with an ornamental needle. I think that this is more for the leadership as practice for controlling people, right? And so they do their little sin offering thing with the money, and they're just, they're a community fucking participating in their little LARP that freezes them in time through ritual, right? They're trying to freeze this period in time, which is much more about the period in history that Hanukkah is inspired by than it is in a period in history in the Bible, because that time that Hanukkah happened, they were basing how they live on the sources, that those sources are correlating. Right? Because the correlation is coming to the prior sources, because those are later sources that then were part of how they were doing things in that time, which is why it's all fucking Babylon, because Israel never existed. It was a mythology within fucking Babylon for these Semitic peoples. When they changed up whatever the fuck they were doing with where they were as original pagans, and then became this odd fucking cult of the book. Mishnah 3, a woman shall not go out with an ornamental needle with a hole in, nor with a ring that has a seal, nor with a kulir, nor with a kabeleth, nor with a perfume bottle, and if she does, she is reliable for a sin offering. Such is the opinion of Armeyer. The sages, however, freed her in the case of the two latter. Gemara said Ula, with men it is concerning a finger ring, just the reverse. That is to say, Ula is of the opinion that what is right for women is not right for men, and what is right for men is not right for women, said Ar Yosef. Ula is of the opinion that women form a class of their own. Here we go, ladies. Let's have some good old-fashioned Jewish feminism. Let's hear it. I want to hear this. Here we go, guys, said Ar Yosef. Ula is of the opinion that women form a class of their own. Rab, however, says it is often happens that a man gives his wife a ring with a seal on to put away in a box, and she puts it on her finger until she comes to the box again. It happens that a wife gives her husband a ring without a seal for the purpose of having him give it to a jeweler to repair. And until he comes to the jeweler, he puts it on his finger. Thus it happens that a woman may wear a man's ring and a man a woman's temporarily. Okay. A woman from a class there, however, says, as often happens, a man gives a wife a ring with a seal on and puts away in a box. Okay, so Ar Yosef is saying that Ula is wrong, basically, because of this principle of this ring swapping temporarily being allowed. That's the idea here, right? Now, does Ula fucking eventually elaborate, or does somebody elaborate on what Ula is referring to? What is the class of their own? What else would give them a class of their own? Or is it just a class of their own in this one specific regard, right? Because there's got to be a you're going to have your period or you're not on a fucking Sabbath. You're probably going to have it on Hanukkah. They obviously need, there could be one law, and it'll be a law that can only apply to women because the women are having their periods. What is kabeleth? Kashhouse for purifying the breath. The rabbis taught a woman must not go out with kabeleth, and if she did so, she is liable for a sin offering. This is the opinion of Armeyer. But the sages say she should not go out with it. Yet if she does, she is not liable. For our Elazar, however, says she may go out with it to commence with. Wherein do they differ? Armeyer holds that it is a burden. The sages, that it is an ornament. And the reason that she should not go out with it is lest she take it off to show to her friends and thus perchance carry it in her hand. are Elizar. It's amazing how these names, they don't look like they're hard to pronounce when you're just staring at it. But then you go to announce it, and it's always a little bit of a disjointed. It's just the way it happens with the way they spell it. Our Elazar, however, permits it to be carried to commence with, because, said he, who generally carry such women whose breath emits a bad odor, and surely they will not take them off to show them. Hence, there is no apprehension that they will carry them 4 ells or more on public ground. Okay, before we read that Boretha and forward, it's 10:04. We're going to go to the next thing. So, this is going to be an opulent pillaging of the treacherous goblin encampment. Well then, that was something. That was You know what? Sometimes you can just tell when a band is being just a little bit funny, right? Like, if you didn't tell me that the title of this song was An Opulent Pillaging of the Treacherous Goblin Encampment, which, you know, to call it opulent and treacherous just makes it hysterical, you know. And the absurdity that it's a fantasy encampment, right? It's very Dungeons and Dragons or Lord of the Rings, right? And then, but like, it's just with the intonation and the way he growled, the very break, like, it's a very comical kind of break stoppy. Like, the drummer is fucking ridiculous. That's ridiculous where he's at with his fucking thing that he's doing. Okay, let's have back at it. There is a Boretha. A woman must not go out with a key in her hand, nor with a box of cachus, nor with a perfume bottle. And if she goes out with them, she is liable for a sin offering. So is the decree of our Meyer, but our Eleazar freed her, provided the box contains kachos and the bottle perfume. But if they are empty, she is liable, for then there is a burden. Wait a minute. So she can have perfume, but if she can't have an empty bottle of perfume because then it becomes a burden, thus sin offering? Oh, but like, why? Why do you have to fucking like mitigate this kind of stuff? Like, this seems beyond the pale, right? It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Listen, man, I've heard that a lot of Hasidic Jews are on welfare, and I don't think they look for work. Not legitimately. And let's just say I've as someone who has spent plenty of time on the night side of Brooklyn, I've seen a thing or two. Okay, so said ar Eda bi ahaba. From this we may infer that one carrying less than the prescribed quantity of food in a vessel on public ground is culpable, as it states, if there was no kashau or perfume, which is equal to a vessel containing less than the prescribed amount of food, she is liable. Hence it makes her liable even if less than the prescribed quantity, said ar Ashi, generally one may be freed, but here it is different. The box and bottle themselves are considered a burden. We read in the scripture, Amos 6:6, and anoint themselves with the costliest of ointments, said Ad Yehuda, in the name of Samuel. This signifies perfumery. Ad Joseph, objective. Yehuda bi Baba. I'm going to get to Amos, by the way. I do want to check this out, but I want to read a little bit first. Of the temple at Jerusalem, the sages prohibited even the use of perfumes, but the rabbis did not concur in the decree. If we say perfume used only for pleasure, why did not the rabbis concur? Abai answered, according to your mode of reasoning, even drinking wine from bowls or bocals is prohibited, for it is written further, ibid, Those that drink wine from bowls, or Amai said, that certainly means bocals, but Asai claimed that it means they clinked glasses, one with another. Still, Rabba Biarhuna once happened to be at the house of the Exilarch and drank wine out of a bocal, but was not rebuked. It is therefore thus to be understood that rabbis restricted only such pleasures as were combined with rejoicing, but not pleasures unaccompanied with rejoicing. So, enjoy your wine, but do it modestly. It's a modest. They're saying it's a modesty move. That's what they ultimately mean, is just be modest about it. And it's just like, why do you gotta fucking do this in a government way? It's just like, it's your committee of friends, you know, who played all these beer pong games for the Lord back in the day, and now everybody's got to play the same beer pong game every fucking week for the rest of their life. All right, let's go to Amos 6:6 and see how they are running this logic. I will open this up in a second. It depends on if it's enough to read. There we go. All right. Those drinking and sprinkling bowls of wine and who are anointing with first quality oils, yet do not travail over the breaking of Joseph. Okay. Now, we need more context, obviously. So let me open this up, and we're going to take a peek at it. Whoops. Do I have two? I have two open. That's my problem. All right, hang on. Whoops. That's the one. That should be this, right? Good. So here it is right here. So it's the 6th verse. Let's go up to the beginning of the chapter. So, woe to the self-satisfied in Zion and those trusting in the mountain of Samaria. Samaria sounds like samurai. It's Shumrun. Shumrun. Open up the lexicon. Shumrun, from the active watch station. Shumrun, a place in Palestine. Oh, Samaria. Okay, Samaritans. It's the place of the Samaritans. The mountain of Samaritans. Pass over to Kalna and see and go from there to Hamath, the great, and go down to Gath of the Philistines. Are you better than these kingdoms, or is their territory greater than your territory? You are those isolating the day of evil, yet you are bringing the seat of violence closer. Those lying on couches of ivory, and who are sprawled out on their divans, and are eating the butting lambs from the flock and the calves from the midst of the stall. Those twanging at the bidding of the zither, like David who devise on themselves instruments of song. So people enjoying themselves. Those drinking and sprinkling bowls of wine. This is like those people that got a Dionysian party sense going on. Right? Woe to the self-satisfied in Zion, right? It's like you people and your indulgences, right? You know, it's just like, is all this outside of this chapter suggesting that this is about just the Sabbath or just about the principle of their conduct, right? to hate the party, right? This gets into some serious, like, you know about how it is. Like, Iran is protesting right now because they don't want people enjoying them fucking selves. Protecting them from fucking sin and all that bullshit. And we took a fucking tolerant posture to this because of the cultural beauty of some song that went, oh yes, his Arabic singing is lovely. He seems like a decent, moderate man. The Ayatollah is a monster, okay? Can we at least... I'd like to keep up the just... They don't want to talk to us, man. They don't want to talk to us. That's all I can tell you. Meaning that they're either in on the conspiracy or they're not only not in on the conspiracy, they are going to be our enemy because they just don't understand their oversimplified explanation of everything. Said Ar Abuhu, others say we taught in a Boretha. Hold on a second. You're still looking at my thing. There we go. In a Boretha, 3 things bring man to poverty. Urinating in front of one's bed when naked. Sure, yes. I'm wondering why. You've only got 3 on the list. I guarantee you, there's way more than 3, and this is one of them? Urinating in one's bed when naked? In front of one's bed when naked. Carelessness in washing one's hands. And permitting one's wife to curse him in his presence. Okay. I kind of want to agree with the third one. Right? Not in some chauvinist way, but more like, if my wife's going to say some shit, I'm not your master, but I'm not your fucking son either. My wife. Right? Washing her hands is pretty bad. But the one about the woman is the only one on here that I say makes sense. Right? These others come off more like expressions. Like carelessness in washing one's hands is more like, it's more like saying general hygiene and presentation. That's what that means to me. It means general hygiene and presentation. And I mean, by extension, this as well, right? It's just like, be well rested and remember to sleep in a clean place. Said Rabbah, urinating in front of one's bed should be understood to signify turning around so as to face the bed and then urinating. Okay, but not turning in the opposite direction. And even when facing the bed, it signifies only urinating on the floor in front of the bed and not in a urinal. Okay. Carelessness in washing one's hand signifies not washing one's hand at all. But not insufficient washing. For Arhista says, I washed my hands well, and plentifully, and am plentifully rewarded. Permitting one's wife to curse him in his presence implies for not bringing her jewelry, and then only when one is able to do so but does not. Right. One's wife to curse him in his presence implies for not bringing her jewelry, and then only when one is able to do so but does not. Oh, that's interesting. That's a loophole. So she can't curse you out, but if you bought her jewelry, meaning if you took an ornamentation of a Jew to give it to her, then she has no right to do it. Unless you didn't have the money for jewelry, then she also still has no right. If you are wealthy and you didn't get her jewelry, you're an asshole. Especially because she needs that jewelry to forget that she's a slave. I'm adding that part in because that can be implied from what we've read so far. Rehava said, in the name of Arihuda, the tree of Jerusalem were cinnamon trees. When used for fuel, the odor extended over all the land of Israel. Ever since the destruction of the Second Temple, the cinnamon trees disappeared, but a morsel as big as a barley corn is still to be found in the treasury of the kingdom of Zimzimai. Zimzim-ai. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cinnamon trees. And they disappeared with the Second Temple. That's fascinating. Morsels can still be found, though. Interesting. Cinnamon trees. Okay, let me see here. Cinnamon. Cinnamon trees in the Levant. Hold on a minute. I knew I misspelled it. There we go. Okay, that's 3,000-year-olds. Does cinnamon grow in Israel? Hold on a minute. Interesting. All right. So there's a lot of information about a 3,000-year-old cinnamon trade that they found. All I did was cinnamon trees in the Levant. Okay. What does this say? Oh, there's a video.
This little young-looking palm tree named...
You know, let's change up the format a little bit. Let's watch this in fair use. I want to watch this in fair use. Let's close that. Close that. Then I want to open up a new one. Hold on a minute. Here. Properties. Where are we? Spotify. I think it's this one. No. Sorry, hold on. There it is. Boom.
This little young-looking palm tree named Judith carries an ancient heritage.
We're talking about the resurrection of 2,000-year-old plus ancient date seeds that come from the Judean desert and from Masada, and which are part of a scientific experiment.
Growing in a greenhouse for the last 9 years, Judith was recently transplanted in what Kibbutz Keturah calls the ancient Judean date orchard. Journalists even pitched in to help. She's the 5th such tree to be planted there after Methuselah, Adam, Jonah, and Hannah.
We are planting our 2nd female date tree, who was sprouted from an ancient seed. Actually, this one came from Qumran, was found in the caves, and much to our astonishment, she also sprouted.
This is Hannah behind me, the first female tree. She was planted in 2019. Pollinated by Methuselah, last year she had around 100 dates. This year she had 621 dates. And this is part of one of them. Dr. Sarah Salone, a medical doctor, started this project more than 15 years ago.
So I want to pause right here, and we're talking about a cinnamon, and this video is about dates. So that's what's throwing me off. Maybe this one will do it. Hold on.
Turning now to Israel, where an 11-year-old girl recently made a significant archaeological find. The discovery sheds new light on what life was like in Jerusalem some 2,000 years ago. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell reports.
In the Emek Zurim Park, visitors can sift through debris from the ongoing...
Now, this is freaking CBN, which, you know, propaganda, but anyway.
Excavation in the city of David.
And the last video was CBN also, if you did not notice. I'm sure you did.
That's where Liel Krudakop found a rare silver coin from the time of the Second Temple.
It feels something not normal. And go to their archaeologist was there, and he cleaned it a little bit, and then he told me and for my family that's a silver coin.
At first, Liel's father thought they should throw it away.
Actually, it didn't look like a coin, so I was thinking to myself, this is some kind of stone.
All right, so this is about the coin. Video advice. So is this about the tree? One more.
Cinnamon.
Here we
From
go.
its presence in drinks, to foods, to desserts, to holding a spoonful of it in your mouth for some sort of ungodly entertainment, there are so many uses for this alluring spice that it would be a challenge to list them all out. But what is cinnamon? How is it made, where did it come from, and how did it become so popular in cuisines around the world? Believe it or not, the story of cinnamon is quite a tale, with origins stretching back to very ancient times, to an age when its source and production was a mysterious, well-kept secret. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Fire of Learning's Food History series, a series in which we explore the surprisingly amazing origins of the food we eat every day. Thank you for joining us in today's episode as we look at the origins of cinnamon. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Luftmensch, Chloe413, Owen Bellameric, Antlers, and Strupp for being my most recent supporters on Patreon. They join these supporters listed here who help to make videos like this possible. Now then, let's get to it. Where does cinnamon come from? For millennia, this was kept secret from outsiders, namely those of the Middle East and Mediterranean. It is first recorded in Egypt as far back as 2000 BC, though again, no one knew where it came from, only that it came from somewhere south or east. Information about cinnamon from pharaonic Egypt is a bit vague, although it's clear from writing and archaeology that it had a number of uses apart from consumption. For example, it was used as a medicine, and was said to have an ability to aid in things like digestive issues and the treatment of ulcers. Cinnamon was also an ingredient involved in embalming mummies. In fact, some Egyptologists have commented that the faint smell of cinnamon is still present on certain remains to this day.
All right, so I'm looking at this now, and this thing's 14 minutes. And so, and it's looks like, and this is like in general, I'm looking at it now, this isn't in general talking about the region and cinnamon. So, kind of weird that they didn't give us a cinnamon video, only this weird date video. Unless I'm retarded and it does cinnamon come from dates? What, like, what tree makes cinnamon? I've never thought about this before. I've probably known the answer and forgotten it. Alright, cinnamon is also called Ceylon cinnamon, is a bushy evergreen tree. It's derived from its bark. The spice consists of dried inner bark. Right, okay. Yeah, no, it's this thing. Yeah. These things. Comes out of that. Right. So it's not the same, it's not even the same tree. Like, what the hell was this video there for at the top of what I was looking for? Yeah, okay, so that's the video source for the date. They don't have a video source for this. 100-year-old flasks containing cinnamon in Israel suggests existence of a long-range spice trade. Ruins on the surface of Tel Dor, located about 19 miles to the south of Haifa in Israel. Phoenician flasks from this site, dating back around 3,000 years, were among those that contained semeldehyde, the compound that gives cinnamon its flavor. These finds indicate the existence of trade that brought cinnamon from the Far East to the area of modern-day Israel. Right, then this is the date, and then there was, I thought, one more, and that's the coin. And then the spice discovery, Gilboa, keep updated. And then the mysterious history cinnamon. Okay, so that's all they really have. But whatever. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's good. We're done with that. Now it's about 10:40. So we're going to jump into the next one. Sorry, into the next break. This is Sea of Sirens. Sirens? Yeah, they really go for broke on their they're like they're like a not so trying so hard to be over the top, like Lorna Shore, kind of going nuts at it. It's very cool, and I can absorb the atmosphere that they're going for better so. And I like Lorna Shore, especially the earlier stuff. All right. But then again, I have a diverse palate, and certain things are more tolerable than others. Certain things I'm happy liking over in my little corner. Some things I'm also happy, but I don't want to be necessarily proud that I like it. But I'll be there, but not in there, right? I'll be there to check it out, but I won't be like part of the experience. Be there to just enjoy the show, but not really, act like I'm married to the scene. And then there's the shit where it's just like, this is home. All you people are awesome. We're all going to Valhalla. All right. Let's get back in the game. Rahava said, in the name of Arya Uda, the trees of Jerusalem were cinnamon trees, and when used for fuel, the odor extended over all of the land of Israel. Ever since the destruction of the Second Temple, the cinnamon trees disappeared. All right, but the morsel of the barley corn, right? Mishnah 4, one must not go out with a sword, nor with a bow, nor with a triangular shield, nor with a round one, nor with a spear. So, hold on, that's only two, so I could go out with a tower shield? Because I can't do a triangle, I can't do a round. That would mean tower shield. So I can go out with a tower shield. If he does so, he is liable for a sin offering. Our Elizar says, they are ornaments to him, but the sages say they are nothing but a stigma. For it is written in Isaiah 2:4, they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning knives. Nations shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. Knee buckles are clean, and one may go out with them on the Sabbath. Stride chains are subject to defilement, and one must not go out with them on the Sabbath. So, I mean, it's military attire versus peace attire, if you will. Gemara. Ar Elizar says they are ornaments. There is a Boretha. The sages said unto Ar Elizar, if the weapons are ornaments to man, why will they cease to exist in the post-Messianic period? He answered, they will exist then also. This is in accordance with the opinion of Samuel, who said there will be no difference between the present time and the post-Messianic period, save the obedience to temporal potentates. Fascinating use of terms. Temporal potentates? So the people in charge, the people in power at their time. Or temporal, the speakers of the temple with the power of their time. You see how that all works? For it is written in Deuteronomy 15:11, for the needy will not cease out of the land. interesting. So you get the Isaiah 2:4, and then it's connected to the Deuteronomy 15:11 in their logic, right? So Isaiah is an interesting book, very interesting book, because of that is the book with Howl in it, the king of or emperor of Babylon. And what was it? 2:4? And the one that is mistranslated into Lucifer by King James. Yes. Isaiah 2:4. There's only one Isaiah, right? It's no other Isaiah? Good. He will judge between the nations. Hold on. Always with poking my nose around here. There we go. He will judge between the nations and arbitrate for the many people. They will pound their swords into mattocks and their spears into pruners. Nations shall not lift sword against nation, nor shall they learn war anymore. So why does it say mattocks in here? That's an interesting term. Why bother? It says the I-elthim. The I-elthim, the lexicon will tell me that means of uncertain derivation, a hoe or other digging implement. Okay. So very interesting that they wanted to give it a broader meaning instead of a more specific meaning, right? Which I like getting into those kinds of literalisms. All right. And then if I can remember where this is coming from. So this is about the son of Amos, Isaiah the son of Amos, right, concerning, right, this is only chapter 2, so Judah and Jerusalem. Because remember, okay, so this is in the context of the Civil War, mind you. Okay? And it will come to pass in the latter days, the mount of the house of Yahweh shall be established on the summit of the mountains, and it shall be lifted up above the hills, and all the nations will stream unto it. Many people will come and say, come and let us ascend to the mount of Yahweh, to the house of Elohim of Jacob, and he shall direct us out of his ways, so that he may indeed walk in his path. From Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And then swords to plowshares and stuff. Let me see where, okay. House of Jacob, come and let us walk in the light of Yahweh, for you have abandoned your people, the house of Jacob, from all the divinations. Clouds of the Philistines, children of foreigners. For you have abandoned your people, the house of Jacob, for they are all full of divinations from the east, and of consulting clouds like the Philistines, and with children of foreigners they slap hands. Let me get this in the translated section. That you abandon the people of you, the house of Jacob, that they are full from the east. They are full from east, and one's consulting clouds, which is uonim, which the lexicon says primitive root to cover, onon, used to cover a denominative from to cloud cover, figuratively to act covertly, to practice magic, to be into the occult, right? To be me, to be you. King James Bible even says bringer, enchanter, mianemen, observe of times, soothsayers and sorcerers. Okay, so Judah, right? Judah is going into the right, and so Judah is where we get the Jews. And it is where we get the Jews in question. Is we're forgetting, nobody understands the Jerusalem Judah dynamic. Nobody understands the second kingdom, the southern kingdom. They don't understand that. They don't understand the mirroring of the issues of Akhenaten in Egypt just by the merit and how things panned out in that manner, with Upper Egypt in the south. They are slapping hands. Is that just a euphemism for sex? A primitive root to clap the hands in token of compact derision, grief, indignation, or punishment. By implication of satisfaction, to be enough. By implication of excess, to vomit. Okay, so I think it means a demonstration of vulgar obscenity, right? You know, like I to make you like what? Did he take a shit on the floor and then make art with it with his bare hands? That's kind of what I'm imagining they're trying to say. Their land is full of silver and gold, and there is no end to their treasures. Their land is full of horses, and there is no end to their chariots. Yeah, okay, so that's all interesting. So that's one thing, and then Deuteronomy 15:11. Let's take a look at that. Since the needy one shall not leave off from being within the land, therefore I am instructing you, saying, you shall open your hand to your brother, to your humble one, and to your needy one in your land. Does that make sense? Hold on. For it is written, for the needy will not cease out of the land. Yeah, that's the last section. So there's that's not even the whole quote. I just read the whole quote. Hang on. Since the needy one shall not leave off from being within the land, therefore I am instructing you, saying, you shall open your... why does that... You shall... Okay, instructing to you, to say to you, to open, you shall open something hand of... Okay, so you guys see this right here? There's this issue with this word. It's called oth. This word oth. Right here. The lexicon says... Because there isn't an English word for it, is what's weird, right? Apparently contracted is demonstrative sense of entity. A demonstrative sense of entity. Properly self, but generally used to point out more definitively the object of a verb or preposition, even or namely. As such, unrepresented in English, right? So King James, the King James version doesn't even have this word represented, right? So that's probably why this is reading so weird. Let me read it one more time. Since the needy one shall not leave off from being within the land, therefore I'm instructing you, saying you shall open ye open. Is it ye? You shall open your hand to your brother, to your humble one, and to your needy one in your land. Okay, so this is about being charitable. This is kind of like the letting people in, so this is like the Democrats letting people in kind of thing. That's kind of what it's saying. letting people in and doing the charity thing with them. Let me get the prior context here. So the chapter starts, the end of the 7 years you shall make a release. Okay, and this is the term of the release. Every creditor is to release the loan of his hand. Oh, this I think is the Jubilee. Is this the Jubilee chapter? Hold on a second, because I need every swarmer. Where's the beginning of this chapter? Sons of Yahweh Elohim, you shall neither slash yourselves or make baldness between your eyes for a dead one. Or only cute. Every swarmer is to fly. I don't understand why this is so weird. All right. No, up to 15, right? No. All right. Sorry. It says, at the end of 7 years you shall make a release, and this is the term of the release. Every creditor is to release the loan of his hand that he lent to his associate. He shall not exact it from his associate or his brother, for Yahweh release has been proclaimed. So this whole chapter is in context to the Jubilee, the 7-year Jubilee period, which is when they reset the contracts and things like that. Then we're supposed to go up to, oh wait, it was 11. I'm sorry, 11. So if 11 is that, that's that one. Hold on. In case there should be among you a needy person, one of your brothers within one of your gates in your land, that Yahweh your Elohim is giving to you, you shall neither make your heart rigid nor shut your hand from your needy brother. So this is the Democrats' policy. That's the Democrats right there. This is literally the Democrat Party's policy. It's the liberal parties all over. Labor. This is all it. And this is with the Jubilee year. Rather, you shall open your hand to him and let him give security, security, sufficient for his lack that is lacking to him. To open, See, I'm saying because kind of makes sense almost to say ye, right? Because ye is kind of like, you can say ye like you, but you can say it saying you in the first person. Ye, or third, or is it technically the third person? Does that work? I'm trying to understand. I just want to understand what sense of evocation of the word is being assorted, right? This is this word is part of the riddle of the fragments of Hebrew that they can't overlook. This oth word. It's a very difficult word to deal with. So anyway, that's 7. We're not even back up to 11 yet. Right? 8 continues on. Guard yourself lest there should be in your heart the decadent word, saying the 7th year is near, the year of the release, so that your eye is evil towards your needy brother, and you give him nothing. Then he may call out to Yahweh concerning you, and it will be held as a sin against you. You see this? We have a name for this, folks. Communism. Communism. Communists are living in a perpetual... Is this just supposed to be just the Jubilee? You shall give to him, and your heart shall not feel bad at your giving to him, for owing to this matter, Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you in all your work and in every undertaking of your hand. Right. So you will own nothing and you will be happy, meaning they will allow you to be happy and act like God and karma and such as the invisible unknowns, because by you're strapping karma and the golden rule to man's law and thus cheapening it. Let's Iro, he shall feel bad, is this word iro. Properly to spoil, figuratively, to make or be good for nothing, bad physically, socially, morally, right? So iro, that's when you're virtue signaling and you call somebody a Nazi. You're giving them the iro to make them feel bad about their position, about their identity, about their sense of self and possession. Why do you think all those Jews love Mamdani? They're all on welfare. It's very Talmudic to be charitable, because it is very Talmudic to use the state to rob you for people that have excuses why they can't work, as well as Laxist rationalities as to why they don't work. Eleke by Elek is the Elohim of you, the personal possessive Elohim, my God, right? Heart of you, and to give to you, to him, and to you that matter, that this, and he shall bless you, Elohim, and the deed of you in all your undertakings. Yes. And not to feel bad. Yeah, okay, all right. Anyway, in case your brother should be sold to you, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman who has served you 6 years, then in the 7th year you shall dismiss him from you free. Right, so that's debt slaves are forgiven in these jubilees and stuff. You will remember that you had become a servant in the land of Egypt, and Yahweh your Elohim ransomed you. Therefore I am instructing you to do this word today. Right. So if you're going to have a debt slave, you know, you can't have a Shavuot Goy for more than 6 years, apparently, by this matter. We'll see how this all works. Anyway. We are going to take the last break and then when we come back, we'll handle things. This last song is called Frost Troll.
For those who stand against the forces of evil, I call unto you, swing thine fists!
Where do I find these bands? My God. What's going on here? All right, there we go. Hey. And let's rock and roll for another 20 minutes or so. Maybe 15 minutes or so. Where was I? One must go out with a sword. No, Okay, you're on 1511. That's where we are. Okay, so I'm down here now. Aha! Said Abaya, according to others, Ariosef to Ardimi or to Arivia, and according to still others, Abai said directly to Ariosef, what is the reason of our Eleazar's theory regarding weapons? It is written in Psalm, I think that's, oh man, 55:4 or something, like, always trying to remember what it means when you get to XLV. Gird thy sword upon thy thigh, O most mighty, with thy glory and thy majesty. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a second. I think I know a little. I think I know something about this verse. I think I know something about it. Hold on. Let me get the chapter right. What chapter are we talking about? It's not 4. Come on. XL. All right, hang on. Psalm XLV 45. Thank you. Psalm 45. 45:4. Right? 45? 4. It's not. Is XLV 45 or not? All right, hang on. Numeral. If I've got XLV, what am I looking for? That's 45. What the hell are they talking about then? Maybe it's the way it's cut. Psalms 45:4. Oh, it's 45:3 in the system here. So it does just say it in 45:3, simple like that. Gird your sword on your thigh, O master, your splendor and your honor. So Gird your is chuger. Chuger. So means belt or armor. To be able to put on, be afraid, appoint, gird, restrain. To be able to put on, be afraid, appointed, or so it's the idea that out of fear of consequences, you restrain yourself. But it's you know, to put it away, placed on your person, right? It's just like, it's like I have to keep my gun in my pocket, right? I have to keep it in my holster, if you will, right? The sword of you on your thigh, mask for one, splendor of you and honor you, right? And so, hold on a sec. That is, yeah. So that's the thigh is the thigh, right? So the beginning of this psalm is, my heart bubbles over with good words. I shall recite my composition concerning the king. My tongue is the pen of a swift scribe. You are lovely beyond the sons of humanity. Grace is poured out upon your lips. Therefore, Elohim has blessed you for the aeon. Gird your sword on your thigh, O master, your splendor and your honor. In your honor prosper. Ride forth on behalf of truth and humility and righteousness. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Your arrows whetted people's breath. You shall they fall struck in the heart of the king's enemies. Your throne, O Elohim, is the aeon of the further. This is like for the guards. This is like for like, you know, this is for people that run around with weapons, right? They're carrying the weapon, but they have to carry it. They carry it not in their hand. They carry it holstered, but it's on them. Because that's what the meaning of that word meant. Okay. Good. All right. Said Arakehana to Mar, the son of Arhuna, is not this passage applied to the study of the law, the Torah? And he answered, anything may be inferred from a passage at the same time. The passage must not be deprived of its common sense, said Arakehana. I am 80 years old, and have studied the 6 sections of the Mishnah with their explanations through, and did not know until now that a scriptural passage has first to be interpreted in its plainest form. What information does he mean to convey to us by this assertion? That man has to study the law through first, and then reason upon it. Well, there's wisdom in that. Like, I've been telling people that have been outraged about this Nicole Good situation. Like people don't know what the fuck they're like. I could see that she was within her rights, but she didn't know why she was in her rights. And was lying to herself that she wasn't dealing with a dangerous animal with a license to kill. And we'll see. Our Jeremiah, in the name of our Eleazar, said, two scholars who debate in the law, not for controversy's sake. The Holy One, blessed be he, causes them to prosper. Moreover, they become exalted, for it is written in Psalm 45:5. Yeah. Be prosperous, but lest one say that this would be the case even if they debate, not for the purpose of study the law. Therefore, it says further in Ibid, because of truth again, one might say that the same would be the case even if one became arrogant and conceited. Therefore, it says further in Ibid, the meekness and righteousness. And if they act humbly, they will be rewarded with the knowledge of the law, which was given with the right hand of God, as it is further written, Ibid, and thy right hand shall teach thee fearful things. Now, they have their path of dark enlightenment, right, which is coming through fear, as well as teaching fear, right? Through, like, that obedience. Like, because this isn't, like, torturous obedience. This is just, like, go into the submission. It'll be a pleasurable experience. Again, one might say that the same would be the case even if one became arrogant. Therefore it is said, meekness and righteousness, and if act humbly. Right. With the knowledge of the law. But there is truth in that. I would say that I know fearful things because of my approach. So that's good general wisdom, to be honest with you, right? But the context of what they're doing it in, like, there's government here, right? Because this is the Babylonian government. It's like, imagine a brutal regime like the North Korean Nazis and stuff. We're all the same fucking family, and their family just bred a huge culture of people that were born and raised like that and live like that. And there's enough of them to go fucking activate as a force in the world. And they got all sorts of people that they've tricked into agreeing with their values so they can use a cover for why they're really doing certain things that happen to promote certain values that are secondary to solving the problems of the issue by which they are exploiting. Those of you that have been living through certain amounts of things know exactly what I'm talking about without need for example. Okay. Okay. Ar-Nahman B. Utziak said, they will be rewarded with the knowledge of what is said of the right hand of the law. For Rabba Biarshila, according to others, are Yosef Bihana, Hama, in the name of Ar-Shesheth said, how is it to be explained, the passage, Proverbs 3:16, length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor. Shall one say that the right hand is only length of days, but not riches and honor? Common sense does not dictate so. Therefore it must be interpreted thus. For thus who studies the Torah in the right way, there is long life, and so much the more riches and honor. But for those who study it not in the right way, riches and honor there may be, but not long life. Okay, honestly, you know what? This is some shit I've been talking about. Ambidextrous path. So once again, that's actually not bad, right? That I actually kind of agree with. I mean, they're talking about knowing, like, the Torah and shit, but, like, this is about understanding where right-hand path magic and left-hand path magic serve you, right? That's all that is. Said Jeremiah, in the name of Arasimian B. Lachish, 2 scholars who quietly discourse on the Torah among themselves, the Holy One, blessed be He, hearkens unto them and listens to their desires, for it is written in Malachi 3:16, then converse they that fear the Lord one with the other, etc. Conversed means conversed quietly as it is written in XLV 2:45. That's probably 47 then, I would understand. He will subdue quiet people under us. Subdue and converse are expressed by the same term in the 2 passages. Hence the similitude. What is meant by the words that thought upon him, upon his name, said Ar Ami, even when one intended to observe a commandment, but was accidentally prevented and could not accomplish it, it is credited to him as if he had actually observed it. Thus the passage, thought upon his name, is interpreted. Okay, so let me take a look here. 47:4. Psalm 47:4. This is a short psalm. It's in 3, of course. He subdued people under us and folk under our feet. Raise a joyful shout out with the voice of jubilant song. Okay, yeah, that's why. I had heard there was this thing about the Book of Psalms, and when you read it, it makes sense, especially when you hear things like this, right? That the first verse of the next chapter is actually the last verse of the prior chapter. So, it would actually start the chapter at verse 2. But they made the way that the end of the verse sounds turn it into kind of an introduction in the way that it's fragmented, and this is reflected in here. Can you see the inner scripture? I don't think I pulled it up. No, you can't. All right. Let me actually move that up there. I can turn that on, and then all I have to do is turn that off. Good. Okay. So the prior chapter was saying, Yahweh of hosts is with us. Our impregnable retreat is the Elohim of Jacob. Impermanent for the sons of Korah, a Davidic psalm. All peoples applaud with the palm. Raise a joyful shout to Elohim with the voice of jubilant song. Now, it does come off like it belongs at the beginning. Then it goes, for Yahweh Supreme is fear inspiring the great king over the entire earth. And the word is Nura. Nura, one being feared. Morally to revere, cause to frighten. I mean, look, all the gods have their fearing qualities. You know, there was a fearing quality within myself that arose when I dreamed of Anubis. It wasn't there with certain other characters, though. He subdued peoples under us and folk under our feet. He chose our allotment for us, the pride of Jacob, whom he loves interludes. Elohim ascended with a shout. Yahweh with the sound of a trumpet. Make melody. Wait, which passage was it? I thought it was like right here, right? Yeah, it's supposed to be 47:4. Yeah. So he is speaking peoples under us and folksmen under feet of us. Yeah. Under our feet and under us in general. So there's under is thithshthith. Thithshthi. It looks like it's thithshthi new. Thithshthi new, which means the bottom, as depressed, only adverbially below, often with prepositional prefix underneath. In lieu of, etc., is room for sake, stead of, under, ex unto, perhaps that's cross unto, ex when, was mine whereas, wherefore, and with. Interesting. All right. What are the folk stems? It says folk and folk stems. Ulamim, ulamim. And it's an unused root meaning to gather, community. And King James did nation or people as his translation of the word. So, the ulamim. So the folk of that makes up effectively your body politic. Did it refer to a specific tribe? Is that a name that, like the Lamim tribe that got lost to the antiquities, or something of that nature? Those are the questions that I want to know. All right, we've just hit the 3-hour mark. So I think we probably want to cut it here, because I've talked quite the bit. Thus the passage thought upon his name is interpreted. All right. So we're going to pause it here. This is page 126. So we're we're a little over a third of the way through the book now. All right, guys. Thanks so much for all of you that were quietly checking all of this out. I'll try and get another one done tomorrow. For as long as I'm sitting here collecting unemployment, I'm working on all sorts of projects and giving you guys the goods, as I always do.